Welcome back. We are still in Unit 3 today, guys, and in this section, we're going to cover Germany post-unification and talk about how it becomes a superpower in Europe, how it strengthened into an economic and military superpower. And we're also going to look at Bismarck some more and see what he does now that Germany is unified together. That had been his whole dream, and now it's together. So let's talk about Bismarck and also a guy named William II. We're going to look at him a little bit later. So Germany today, guys, is one of the strongest economies in the world. It is an economic superpower, and that is the result of what had happened after German unification. So let's look at some factors that made Germany an economic superpower. As you can see, look at how much the German economy is growing. For example, 1890 versus 1913 in terms of steel production and coal production, it's just off the charts growth. So what accounts for this? Well, number one, Germany, like the United States, like Britain, has lots of natural resources, coal and iron deposits. They also built an extensive rail network that crisscrossed Germany, unified the different German states and cities all together into one network of rails, allowing goods and people to travel quickly. You also had a growing population of German people, so you have more workers, more customers. We also have a pretty well-disciplined, well-educated people, the Germans were, and I guess you could argue still are. And you put that together, you have a recipe for economic success. Now, we learned in our last unit that large businesses owned by many shareholders are called corporations. And large German corporations dominated the economy and led to just vast economic growth. Germany became a major producer of steel, weapons, and chemical products in particular. You may or may not have ever heard of Bayer, but Bayer is a German chemical company, medical company that invented aspirin. And they're still around today. Bayer is, in fact. Next time you go to the store and you're going through the little, the pharmacy area, check the shelf and see if you don't see this little symbol right here. And if you do, you'll know this was a German. It's a German corporation that still makes medicine today. In terms of weapons, a good example of this would be the Krupp Corporation. The Krupp Corporation made the big heavy guns for the German military, and they will do so in World War I and II as well. Now, let's go back to Bismarck and talk about him as the Chancellor of Germany, not the king, right? He's not the Kaiser, but he's the Chancellor of Germany. So he's kind of leading up the civilian side of the government. He knows the Iron Chancellor because this guy was tough and he got things done, and he's going to lead this unified Germany in its early years. So let's think about what country would be most motivated to get revenge against Germany. And of course, the answer is France, because they'd been humiliated by Bismarck's manipulations. So Bismarck knew that France would one day try to get revenge and try to get their land back of Alsace and Lorraine. So to keep France isolated and weak, Bismarck set about making strong diplomatic and military ties with Austria, Italy, and Russia, with the goal of, again, robbing France of any potential friends in this any war that might come up later on. On the domestic front, Bismarck had a much more mixed record. For example, he tried to weaken both Catholics and socialists because he felt that both of those groups were not fully loyal to the government and to the monarchy of Germany. And so he passes laws to restrict both groups, and this actually backfires. Those groups got stronger than ever. And so Bismarck, a realist, realizes he has to change course a little bit. So what he does is he pushes the German government to give pretty generous benefits to workers in the early 1880s. Things like kind of like workman's compensation. If you get injured or sick at work, there'll be some sort of government assistance to help you. And he's doing this because he felt it would be better to give these benefits to workers than for workers to rise up in revolution and try to take them by force, because that would lead to just chaos. Now let's look at the final Kaiser Germany's ever going to have, Kaiser William II, Wilhelm II in German. And he's eager to turn Germany into a military superpower. So let's talk about what happens. So William II assumed the throne, and he was a young man. He was very ambitious. He wanted to leave his own mark on German history. And he also felt that he could only do so much as long as Bismarck was around. So in 1890, he shocks the German people, and for that matter the world, by asking Bismarck to resign, saying, "There is only one master in the Reich, and that is I." In other words, I can't lead Germany, if Bismarck is still around. His shadow is just simply too large. And so he kicks Bismarck basically out of the government. A couple images here of this new Kaiser, William II. I think his arrogance and ambition kind of comes through in some of these pictures. Now, William II is kind of a throwback to the old days, where he believed his right to rule came from God. And his quote here, I'll read it to you, I think really establishes that. He said, "My grandfather considered that the office of the king was a task that God had assigned to him, that which he thought I also think. Those who wish to aid me in this task I welcome with all my heart. Those who oppose me in this work I shall crush." So this is again a throwback to the days of divine right, the idea that your power comes directly from God, therefore what you do is pretty much always right. This cartoon of William II, I think, speaks volumes. This is clearly a criticism of him as a guy who's too ambitious, who threatens the world, and threatens to take over the world. Now, one of the things he does, William II, that was very provocative, he starts spending lots of money building up the German military, in particular the Navy. The Navy is something that really bothered Britain, because Britain's independence has always been guaranteed by their strong Navy. If the German Navy were to become the same size or even bigger than the British Navy, the British would feel extremely threatened. So tensions are rising across Europe in the years leading up to World War I because of this vast military expansion that Germany is spearheading. Alright, so that is it for Germany Strengthens. We talked about how Germany became an economic superpower, how Bismarck tried to keep Germany a military power as well, failed to weaken some of those revolutionaries at home, but was able to kind of redirect those revolutionary sentiments away from revolution itself. And we also looked at how William II took over the German throne and kicked Bismarck out of his position, and then also put Germany on the path towards a military buildup that will help cause World War I when we get to it.